Hi, Lewis. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Chloe?
Good. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with me. I'm so excited to talk about Thunderbolts.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to talk about Thunderbolt.
Congratulations on this film. Obviously, it's like the biggest movie in the world right now, and your performance as Bob is one of the best things I've seen in the MCU. How are you feeling after kind of like opening weekend and audience reactions?
Well, thanks for saying that. I mean, yeah, it's just a wild kind of whirlwind, and it's all still being absorbed right now. I think I'm still like kind of in the crock pot of absorption. But it's awesome. I mean, when I was flying home, because it was just I went from shooting something right into press,
Yeah.
came home, and then went right into my brother's wedding. And so like yesterday and today is sort of the first 2 days I've been able to like kind of take a little deep breath in it. Really just proud of everyone involved. It was, I think there was a lot of kind of fun risks that we were able to take, but that's not to say that it wasn't, as it always is with risk taking, a little bit scary. And so it's just nice to hear that there's been some people that it's connected with.
Yeah, for sure. And to start, I've heard so many conversations over the course of the MCU of like how strange it is to film in a superhero suit. And I wanted to ask you what it was like to spend so much of filming in pajamas.
Yeah, I definitely had a guilty conscience about that because the other gang was in their suit for quite a long time as I was literally in the most breezy. The only thing I could complain about was like wearing bare feet
Yeah.
around, which doesn't even remotely compare. So yeah, I got some much deserved shit for that. And then I got to do my time in the human straitjacket. So that felt like I now have a better idea of what they were going through. And everyone has a different suit, obviously. So each suit comes with its own set of benefits and its own set of challenges.
Yes. Was there a scene that everyone you remember just like couldn't stop laughing or in between takes was like a really memorable aspect of shooting? Because I know the movie is pretty serious, but seeing all of y'all like off camera or doing press, you seem to have a really good time together.
So much fun. It's just a criminal amount of fun. I mean, every scene is such a blast with Florence because she's like such a goof and like is like so capable of keeping it light and like just being a clown and then dropping into the most amazing performance ever. And so that is just like one of the many benefits of getting to like have Florence Pugh as your scene partner. But there's a scene where we are climbing up an elevator, which was like so kind
Yeah.
of absurdly practical for, a superhero movie. And Jake continually was like, is this insane that I put this scene in here? I was like, I thought it was a good idea. Now I'm like seeing it and we built all these sets. He's like, this is maybe absolutely
Maybe this
like
is bad.
not, yeah, like maybe not gonna work. But and yeah, we're doing this like Emperor's New Groove climb up. And that was like, it took a bunch of days to shoot and we were like stuck in this little cylindrical elevator. And we got very close. And that was like I'm surprised they even got enough footage to cut it into a scene because that was like we were laughing so hard at the absurdity of just like these superheroes having to like really that's our last resort. We're gonna go back to back and just boat climb this thing. Like, okay.
Like, sure.
Yeah.
That's so funny that you say that. I saw it again. I've seen it 3 times so far. And I
No
saw it
way.
with one of my friends a couple days ago, and she said Emperor's New Groove. She was like, this
Yeah.
is so funny.
Yeah, I didn't even make that connection. Somebody said that the other day, and I was like, that is what it reminded me of. And
Yeah.
like as a kid, like that was always such a fun thing to do is like, go starfish like on the frames of a door. And like that was
Yes.
so
Yeah.
mind-blowingly fun. So it kind of felt like that doing that as a kid.
Yes. And I know you mentioned talking with Jake about that specific scene. And obviously, Jake just let us all know that I believe y'all filmed that second post-credit scene fairly more recently than the rest
Yeah.
of the film. Can you kind of take me into that day, what it was like to reunite with everyone and maybe work with like the Russos a little bit and get a taste of that whole experience.
Yeah, it was such an interesting thing to like come back to the story that long after. And yeah, I mean, we shot that literally weeks ago, and so I can't believe it how fast the turnaround was on that.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was a cool like little taste into like what's to come, a little like kind of window into, what's on the horizon. And the Russo brothers are awesome. I've been such a fan of theirs for such a long time, and so it's cool to see how they operate a set. Like they're very like it's almost like some cool witchcraft that they have, where it's like obviously a really big set, but they kind of like make you like almost hypnotize you into not realizing that it's even being shot and that it's happening. Like they're so
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like casual in this way while also caring a lot, which I thought was like that was a fun way to kind of go into it. And it was obviously so good to see all the Thunderbolts again. But I was also in a chair like 40 feet
Yeah.
away from everyone the whole day reading, and I actually finished that whole book. But and so
That's amazing.
in a very apt way, it was a little isolating where I think Bob probably is mentally is a little like, well, where do I stand now? What's my duty and what is my purpose now? And how can I
Yeah.
be helpful?
Yeah. And I'm also so curious. I know that you've said Danny Ramirez called you about the Doomsday director's chair of it all. I'm curious, how did you celebrate finding out that you were going to be in Doomsday? Did you do anything in particular?
I was working at the time, so I just had to celebrate in small stolen moments.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah, but I did have a nice long FaceTime with Danny where we just talked about the absurdity and the insanity of the fact that we're getting to be in a Marvel movie together, and how exciting that is. And then, yeah, just over the last couple weeks, I've been able to kind of like set in like how exhilarating it is to be a part of that.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited for that. On a more serious note, I have like 14 questions I could ask about Bob, but I want to lead with what was your headspace like going into those days where you were void on set? Because your tone is like struck such a chord with me listening to some of those like heartbreaking lines. So I'd love to hear the practical aspect of playing void, but also did it inform your performance of or understanding of true Bob in a different way, kind of having that contrast from the inside?
Yeah, good question. Definitely. Jake and I spent so much time kind of talking about and trying to articulate exactly what, the void means to Bob and how he should be actualized. And, I think for a while, yeah, I wanted his kind of silhouette obviously to be strikingly different from Bob's and from the Centuries,
Yeah.
and I wanted his voice to be too. But and so in the beginning, it was kind of a lot slower and more gravelly and kind of um, like a drony kind of.
Yeah.
And then we realized it was a little too far from Bob and like in order to kind of sell the fact that this is part of Bob's conscious, like this is that
Mhm.
the devil on your shoulder, this is that
Yeah.
that voice that we all have that tells us that we're not worth it or that we are should just give up and so the more that we kind of humanized it and brought in Bob's kind of demeanor into that and tried to kind of blend it, the more that rung true, and it took us a little while to kind of find that together. But yeah, it did inform kind of like going back and forth between the Void and Bob, like
Yeah.
exactly what his inner monologue is and how it sounds, and to kind of have that as a mantra going through those scenes was really helpful.
Yes, for sure. Um, the internet has kind of become divided, or at least everyone on my For You page, between just wanting Bob and I almost said Florence, Bob and Yelena to be like brother sister vibe, and then the other half of the internet is like shipping them. Have you
Right.
and Florence seen this? Do you have a statement to make to the people?
Oh my God, I haven't seen that. I didn't know about that. That's so funny. It was never something we talked about
Yeah.
as being a thing. I think that it was more to show like those relationships that are like almost your sister from another life that
Yeah.
that you're hopefully lucky enough to cross paths with. And when you find that person, like not wanting to let them go
Yeah.
because of how rare that is. And, I think so much, Florence and I shared so much, similarities with our characters and with the topics. And so it was easy to kind of to go into these scenes with truth, together and understanding and support of one another. And so I'm glad that that resonated in one way or another.
And final question, I have to know if there is a Thunderbolts group chat.
That's a great we don't and we don't have that. I don't know why. We should start
Why is
that.
it?
I mean, I think like probably because we're all pretty bad at communicating anyways. I mean, like over, all of our emails and texts are probably, I wouldn't like count on any of the Thunderbolts to get back to you within, probably a couple days. So it might be a scattered, but it'd be a fun one. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
rowdy crew. We should do it. I'll start it maybe.
please do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. I loved your interview magazine interview with Danny earlier this year. I was
Oh,
like, I got to make these questions good.
no, those were great questions, Chloe. Thank you so much.